Welcome to your real estate review with Alan Canis of Engel and Volker's Silicon Valley, your weekly getaway to the pulsating heart of the global real estate market. Join us as we bring you exclusive interviews with top producing real estate agents from around the globe. Whether you're a buyer, a seller, or just a real estate enthusiast, this is your insider look into the pros, cons, and the captivating allure of the world's most sought after locations. Let's discover where your next dream home awaits. Buckle up for a real estate journey like no other. This is your real estate review with Alan Canis of Engel and Volker's Silicon Valley. Welcome to your real estate review with Alan Canis of Engel Volker's Silicon Valley. I want to welcome a very good friend of mine, Julie Jones, and she's from Fort Lauderdale Waterfront Estates. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Alan. It's such a pleasure to be with you this afternoon on a warm afternoon in Fort Lauderdale, which we would expect, right? Because this
Yes.
is South Florida and it's the endless summer, and we're experiencing a very warm start to the endless summer. But that's part of the beauty of Fort Lauderdale and why people move here.
So many people enjoy the beautiful weather.
They do.
I know I do.
Right, well, it's a big game changer when you can get outside all year round and you can drive your sports cars all year round and you can boat and golf and play tennis and pickleball without being governed by the change of the seasons. And that
Yeah,
is a huge factor for sure.
I'm jealous.
Well, you're welcome to come visit anytime.
I will. Count me in on that. So
For sure.
let's dive right in. I want to, have people get to know you better. And so, what did you do before real estate?
So I had a very corporate background, actually, Alan. I'm originally from the UK, and I worked for General Motors, and they have Vauxhall Opel is their European division. And I was hired as a zone manager. And let's be honest, the car business is a great background for real estate because you don't have to fear rejection on any level, quite honestly, because
Yes.
because I was working in the inner city of London and took care of 32 car dealers in Southwest London.
Wow.
So it was a great background for sure.
So you know your cars.
Yes, I know my cars and I still have a passion for them, but it's been surpassed by my passion for real estate, quite honestly. It's
Oh,
such a fabulous business that we're involved in.
we are. I feel very fortunate. Um, would you please tell us the how, when, and why you are in real estate?
So I've always been a people person. I enjoy interacting with different people and I'm a social soul. I'm also very creative. I love the marketing aspect of our business that I know that you share as well, Alan. I
Yeah.
think I'm constantly looking for ways to bring my listings alive and to bring them to different people, both in the US and internationally. So the marketing is a huge part of it. I'm also fascinated by what creates the perfect environment for different people and matching them to that environment, whether it's an oceanfront condo or a house on the water or downtown living on the New River. There's just so many aspects. And as we get to know people and find out what they're really looking for from their real estate, I think the process is fascinating.
It's funny that you say, or not funny, haha, but that the process. The process for me is the same. I love the process, but it's always changing.
Yes.
And so not one transaction or one client is the same. And
No,
that's
they're
one of the
not.
things I love about real estate.
And Alan, you and I, last time we chatted, we shared the fact that we've watched some of the families that we originally worked with.
Yeah.
We've watched the kids grow up. We've been introduced to their friends, to different family members. And so the process is incredibly rewarding.
It is. Yeah, you're 100% right there. What are some of the unique features or attractions of Fort Lauderdale that make it an appealing destination for people wanting to relocate?
Well, that is a great question. And honestly think that after 20 years of being involved in real estate, that Fort Lauderdale is changing for the better almost on a monthly basis. It's a beautiful city We're framed by 23 miles of lovely beaches. We have 165 miles of navigable waterways. Fort Lauderdale is definitely a yachting community. It's yachting and beach centric. We also have great parks, so there's a lot of open areas. This morning, I drove along the beach and I was watching people. There was a spin class in front of Starbucks. There were people on the beach, jogging, running, walking their dogs, out with their kids. It's really such a beautiful environment. It's a safe city. It's very easy to get around. And it post pandemic is just becoming more and more sophisticated. We have the Four Seasons, we have the W, we have St. Regis that is going to come through over the next few years. We have an amazing marina, a community of Pier 66, which is just beautiful. We also have a convention center. And Alan, I think that Fort Lauderdale's connectivity is hugely important because you have a choice of three airports. You have Brightline, which connects Miami and Palm Beach. And we're kind of sandwiched between the two. We're more mellow than Miami, and we're less formal than Palm Beach. And now Palm Beach is becoming known as the Wall Street of the South. And Fort Lauderdale is evolving into the Monaco of the US. And that is definitely an image, a rebranding of an area that used to be known for retirement. You came to Fort Lauderdale to die, or you came to Fort
Yeah,
Lauderdale for spring break. Now people actually
you're
come
right.
and they live here full time and they love it. They're integrating into the community. Kids are coming to our A-rated school on a full-time basis. They love living in Fort Lauderdale. You can feel it in the diversity of the city and the people that are moving here.
I love that you've said, and it's could be rebranded as the Monaco of the
Yes.
United States.
Yeah, it is
Yeah,
definitely striving towards that. Alan, the yachts are getting larger. They're getting more plentiful. People are coming here from all over the United States because they feel very comfortable here. We have a cultural, ethnic diversity that's reflected in our restaurants today. I drove by Vietnamese restaurant that I love. We have Chinese restaurants. We have increasing Mediterranean restaurants. Whatever you want to eat, you can find it in this city. And it's a city that does not close at 9 p.m. It's there. It's not a sleepy city anymore. And the younger people love Fort Lauderdale because there's a lot of employment opportunities here. We're very friendly to startup businesses. One of my customers relocated a software company here. He looked at Miami. He also looked at Palm Beach. He favored Broward and Fort Lauderdale because he felt there were a lot of young people here. So the
Mm,
employment pool was very much to his advantage. And we only have, 3% unemployment, so it's a great place for people to,
wow.
to move to.
I never even thought about the unemployment and the age level. I mean, it makes so much sense for a business to move there for finding employees,
It does.
especially the younger generation.
Exactly. And we both know that the wealth is becoming younger as well. We're
That's
not getting
true.
older, Alan. You and I are never going to get any older, but I have noticed that some of my customers are, and we see this when we look at the demographics with our Realm Association. You can see that the wealth is definitely getting younger. And people love the activity of Fort Lauderdale, the fact that
Yeah,
you're not stuck at home too much during the winter. You can be out and about all year round. So
which
it's a
is
very
wonderful.
active community
Yeah.
for sure.
How would you describe the current real estate market in Fort Lauderdale, and what trends should a potential relocator be aware of?
Great questions, of course. The real estate market is actually picking up. We've noticed that our listings, the number of showings are increasing. I do think that a lot of buyers have sat on the sidelines for the last 6 to 9 months. They were waiting for the election to pass. Now
Yeah.
they're waiting for the volatility to change in the marketplace. But while they're waiting, some of the homes are selling. Now, clearly, it would be misrepresentative to say that it's the same market as the pandemic. It's not. But if you have a really nice product that is priced properly, you will still sell it in this market.
Well, we're finding here that if a property is turnkey, meaning fully remodeled, fully updated, and it's priced right, it moves off the shelf fast.
Yes, for sure.
It's when it has that quirkiness, the buyers are sitting back and they're waiting on
They
those
are
homes.
waiting. They're
And
also waiting to see what will happen with the market. You know,
yes,
they saw how a lot of the luxury communities throughout the US escalated during the pandemic. They don't want to pay those prices. So they're referencing back to 2019 markets and there is definitely a rebalance that is occurring, but there are still people moving to the state. They're
yeah.
coming here from Texas, California, New York, the typical feeder states, because don't forget we have no personal income tax here.
That's what
It's
people
a
love.
tax haven. It's a tax haven without a doubt. So that is especially appealing.
What do you think that some of the pitfalls or challenges that people face when relocating or purchasing in Fort Lauderdale, and how do you help them navigate through these areas?
Yes, I think that is a very important consideration. The biggest challenge is getting in is having children accepted at the A-rated schools. And I don't think that Fort Lauderdale is alone with that, you know, as people
Yeah.
relocate. So I think it's an important message that families relocating check out the schools in as far advance as you can and maybe be prepared for a wait. I know that the schools are expanding their campus. They're working really hard to create opportunities for families that are moving here. But that is actually the biggest situation. I have a wonderful CEO from San Francisco who would love to relocate, but he's waiting to get two of his children accepted. The
He needs that
other
green
the
light.
other situation that potentially frustrates people is if you are a boater, and a lot of my customers are boaters, it's very important to understand the setbacks and where you can actually dock your boat.
Oh,
Because some homes may have 100 feet of waterway, others may have 100. I have one listing that has 328 feet, another one that has 377 feet. So you cannot put a 100-foot yacht behind a property with only 100 feet because you have setbacks either side, canal widths and depths. So I find that a lot of the boaters coming to Fort Lauderdale do not understand the implications and they can waste a lot of time looking at properties that are not going to accommodate
well,
permittable
and
docking
money if
of
they're
their
working
yacht.
with somebody that's not as experienced and just looking to move on with the sale.
Yes,
And so
yes.
if you have somebody that has the 100 foot or two and doesn't have the expansion possibility, so that's why working with somebody that like you that knows these things is so important.
It is, and to this end, I actually established a website called docyourmegayacht.com, and it
Okay.
has all of the canals with their width, depth, and the setbacks. Because I noticed how frustrated people would be, because if you come into town and you're so excited, it's so many people's dream is to have their yacht behind their home. And if you don't prepare for that, you can waste a lot of time looking at canals that are not wide enough, deep enough, or have or not
Yeah.
do not conform to the city setbacks. So those are the two situations that I think most frustrate people when they arrive in Fort Lauderdale. But they love it here. You have three airports. You can fly into Hollywood International, Miami, or Palm Beach. And you could be with Hollywood International, you could be poolside in 20 minutes. Whereas so many luxury communities, you have a commute at the other end of your arrival. Here, it's just incredibly convenient. And I think that's a big part of why the city has grown.
Yeah, it's terrific.
So
Can you give us a sense of lifestyle in Fort Lauderdale? What are the local communities like, and what kind of amenities may a newcomer expect?
So we have a great performing arts. We have Nova Southeastern University is connected with cancer research, the early detection of tumors and least invasive treatments. So there's so much going on. And the climate permits a lot of activity, a lot of boating, a lot of waterfront dining, a lot of beach and park settings. So it's a great place for people that want to be active.
When we talk about the climate and the beautiful weather, can you tell us what the seasons, what people can expect seasons wise?
Seasons wise, absolutely. It's the average temperature is 82 degrees
Oh, I
here
love it.
here in Broward. So it's just now we do get some gusts during the summertime. We are in the hurricane zone, but you get when a hurricane is approaching, you get plenty of notice. It's not like the tornadoes or some other
Okay.
situations, climate situations, plenty of notice. And the city is very well prepared for that, and the worst that I've experienced, quite honestly, in 30 years of living here was to lose the power for 4 days. So I think that the hurricane season does need to be kept in perspective. The homes are now built with hurricane glass and generators, so
Oh, okay.
you remain very comfortable during the summer season. Obviously, we chase the air conditioning during the height of the summer, but I think that most South Florida residents are prepared to give that up for the convenience of being able to be active all year round. And especially for older people, they don't want to be trapped with the ice and the snow and harsh winters.
Yeah.
So they love the fact that they can be very active retirees here, which is a huge component.
Well, and Fort Lauderdale, from what I've always heard, is people from the East Coast, they venture down from New York or from Canada and they venture down into Florida. So, and Fort Lauderdale is one of the most popular places to be.
For sure. And especially remember, Alan, one of the trends that you and I have seen over the last 4 years is the ability to work remotely. So a
Yes.
lot of my customers, they look for when they're looking at the floor plans, and I think we touched on this, they look for one or two home offices. They want a home gym. They also want some kind of media room, even if that doubles into the family room. So people have learned to work remotely. I've also noticed that my younger customers are very savvy. They don't want one big house in one place. They want to experience different communities and different lifestyles. So often they'll say, okay, well, I'm going to have a condo in New York. I still want my base in California, but I kind of want to play with the yachting world in Fort Lauderdale as well. So we're seeing that great diversity, which makes for a dynamic real estate community.
Yeah.
And it makes for great dinner company. The people that are moving here, they want to join the local golf clubs. They want to join the yacht clubs. They want to be out. They want to enjoy fine dining. They want great spa experiences because I think that we look for experiences now as much as we look for the big houses and the different environments. We want to live somewhere where we can walk in safety, where we can go to the beach and watch the sunrise, or meet our friends and watch the sunset on the beach or the restaurants. So we have all of that to offer, which is incredibly exciting.
And not all areas of the country have this, and which makes it so wonderful.
It
Uh,
does. It does.
from your perspective, what are the top benefits for someone considering a move or a purchase to Fort Lauderdale?
I think the top benefits are clearly driven by our climate, by how active the area is, the diversity. We have people from all around the US and internationally. We have our Canadians, Latin South Americans, we have our Europeans. It's just it's a very diverse community that welcomes all. And I think that the people see that. They see that Los Olas is our high street. It's full of little boutiques, coffee shops, restaurants. So there it's casually welcoming for people that really want an active lifestyle.
That's one of the things that I love about Fort Lauderdale, all the diversity and all of the different aspects like you're talking about. Let's talk about real estate for a moment. In what ways do you, as a real estate agent, provide value to someone relocating from another region or state? And how do you differentiate yourself from other agents in Fort Lauderdale?
I think that the value of a qualified real estate professional has never been higher, quite honestly, because our consumers can do so much research, and they
Yeah,
do, which saves them time, and they become extremely highly educated to the market, which, and we want them to be, because we want them to make smart decisions, right, Alan? We want them
definitely.
to have confidence. But I think that working with a qualified real estate professional adds that final level of confidence, because it's all about relationships, right? And I know the off market opportunities. I know the areas that will be best for different personalities, for different lifestyle expectations. And I have the relationships with the other real estate professionals so that I feel that I can negotiate on a much higher level than somebody who's just arriving in town and does not have those relationships.
Yeah.
Because you and I rely heavily on our local relationships with the local banks, the local schools, the local just the network relationships that we have fostered and nurtured over decades and that we value, and we want to share that level of expertise with our customers so that they have an enjoyable process and they arrive in the right environment that's going to be right for them and their family, for their businesses for decades to come. Because to make a mistake with real estate is invariably a very uncomfortable position to be in. So
Oh,
I think
definitely.
that there's still a big place for Julie and Alan in the real estate communities to help guide people and to use their time. The people that we work with, their time is very precious, and they want it respected, and they want it optimized. So they're not going to spend a lot of time looking on, they'll do their online research, but by the time they arrive with me, they're ready and they want to know the inside scoop and they want to make smart decisions.
Well, and what makes you so special is that you have those connections to the off market possibilities. You have the great reputation with other agents that, like me, want to work with you. And that is so important in the industry. And that could make or break a transaction so easily.
And it all comes down to trust, Alan.
Yes,
No matter what we do, you have to feel a sense of trust for whoever you're working with. And if that does not exist, then it's not the right relationship.
exactly.
For sure. So the trust factor, I think, is important, especially for people relocating out of state or from outside of the US. They really have to feel
Mhm.
that that their interests are being represented in total good faith.
Definitely. That
Oh.
I couldn't say that better. You're so right. Um,
So
what is one piece of advice you would give to someone who is thinking of relocating or purchasing in Fort Lauderdale?
just to do the homework in terms of school availability, and to make sure that if your yacht is another family member, which they are, make sure
Yes.
that your yacht is going to arrive docked at the right house. Don't waste your time looking at canals that are not deep enough or wide enough for the yacht that you've worked so hard for. So there is a science with the waterfront purchases for
I'm
sure.
just imagining the person waking up and the wife looking at the husband going, "What did you buy?" Because somebody's docked their yacht in the wrong dock.
Well, it can happen. It can happen, Alan, because often when I show properties, I'll open the door, I welcome the people, and the guys will go walk straight through the house, right out the back to look at the dock. Whereas, or vice versa, there's a lot of women that also own these fabulous big yachts
Yeah.
as well. Or they'll send their boat captain. It's important to have the access to the boat captain as well. They're a very important part of the purchase criteria for a waterfront property because they'll understand the access to the home. They'll look at the waterway maps. They'll be familiar with the depths and the tidal ranges for the different homes. So it takes a village sometimes, but it's fun as well. Who doesn't dream of waking up and saying, you know what, Alan, let's go to Bimini and let's go to the Bahamas. And you take off, you leave early in the morning, and by lunchtime you can be in the Bahamas. So the whole lifestyle is fabulous. It really is.
That is a dream of mine, I can
Yes.
honestly say.
Yes, I see the yacht behind you,
Yes.
and it's well, we host the largest floating boat show in the entire world is historically
Oh,
the
I didn't
Fort
know that.
Lauderdale Boat
Wow.
Show. So you would enjoy that, Alan, and it's closely followed by the Palm Beach Boat Show, which is building momentum as well. So they're both October and I think March.
Oh,
October's Fort
wonderful.
Lauderdale, March is Palm Beach. But it's everything is here for the yachting community. You have the service centers, the recruitment for crew. You have the yacht brokers. We have Ferretti, we have Prado, we have all of these service areas and these beautifully equipped boat yards for. So it really is the mecca of yachting for the Americas.
I'm hearing, the real estate market throughout the United States, could be crazy. And in Fort Lauderdale, it's not an exception because people want to be there. It's a destination.
They
Are you
do.
seeing multiple offers and what's causing that?
So I have to be honest, I have not seen multiple offers in 20, as much in 2025 as
Okay.
last year, but I think that's just because of the rebalancing of the market. I have had a lot of multiple offers in my career, and you and I both know that as much as they're exciting, somebody's going to lose out, and it,
Yeah.
it it's never a good situation when that happens. So I think cash it still remains king in the
Okay.
purchase of the homes. Even if people come back and they attach a mortgage, most of the offers are cash. There are as is contracts here. I always encourage buyers when you arrive in Fort Lauderdale, be prepared, have your letter from your wealth advisor, your proof of funds, have everything set up because if the market is active, the terms of the offer are as key as the amount, as you and I both
That's
know.
definitely true.
So I think that remains extremely important.
And how do you see Fort Lauderdale evolving in the next few years, and what impact might that have on the residents, new residents especially?
Yes, it's tough for any city where the prices have increased drastically. It's difficult on the young families, the single folks. We're seeing a ton of rental buildings being built to an extremely high standard. Everybody loves the walkability element. I think that when we see the interest rates start to adjust, hopefully by the end of the year, that will make it easier for our local move up market than it is currently. Because whether you're in Fort Lauderdale or other parts of the US, if you currently have a 3% mortgage and you're looking at a 5, 6% mortgage, it still slows down the market.
Yes,
So I
you're
think
right.
for the single people and the younger people, I'm looking forward, hoping that we can see some more affordability and easier financing as the year unfolds.
Definitely the fingers are crossed.
Yes, the fingers are crossed for sure. The inventory is starting to pick up as well, which for buyers is a wonderful thing. I think this summer is definitely a buyer's market. And so people that have been thinking of Fort Lauderdale, it's definitely a good time to explore and to make your choices.
Well, and I'm a foodie, and I've said this many times on other podcasts, other shows, that I owned a online gourmet gift company, and so food is in my blood. And
Yes.
so I am hearing more and more about Fort Lauderdale. We talked a little bit about at the beginning that the different culinary experiences. Is Fort Lauderdale a foodie destination? Is it becoming a foodie destination?
Absolutely it is. You know, there were five restaurants that were recently Michelin rated. So that's huge, or
That is
considered for
huge.
Michelin rated.
Yeah,
And what's so fascinating is they varied from the small intimate dining experiences to the full-on experience of Moss at the Four Seasons. So no matter what you're in the mood for, Alan, whether you want to go somewhere in your boat and you've got shorts, t-shirts, flip-flops, you'll find some great food. If you want to dress up and make an evening of it, we also have some incredible fine dining options. The downtown and middle river area, the downtown and river area of Fort Lauderdale is also expanding as well. You can walk along the river, you'll see people walking their dogs, they'll stop at different restaurants, maybe they'll have an appetizer and go on to dessert somewhere else. So the diversity is huge. No matter what your taste level or the type of experience you're looking for, you'll find it.
I love that you said taste level. Mine's all over the board.
Yes, for
I
sure.
love trying new things.
Yes, absolutely.
In your opinion, how has the real estate market changed in recent years, particularly with regards to relocation trends?
That is a great question, and it has changed substantially since the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, I spent a lot of my time working with people that were moving out of Miami. And even last year, four of my customers were families that were moving out of Miami and to Fort Lauderdale for a slightly quieter lifestyle. So what has changed is the fact that people no longer just come to Fort Lauderdale as a part-time residence. They are considering it to live here full-time, putting the kids in schools, relocating other
Yeah.
family members. So that's been the biggest change, Alan. It's no longer just a part-time option. It's becoming more full-time, and we're attracting people from all over the US and the United States.
And that's a big change.
It
That's
is a
an
huge change.
adjustment. Yeah.
Yes, over the 20 years that I've been in the real estate world, I see more people still moving here. 18, so Fort Lauderdale has an annual growth of around 18% over the
Wow.
last 3 years. So
That's significant.
it is significant for sure. And it's exciting.
How do you think technology and online resources have impacted the way people approach real estate and relocation to Fort Lauderdale?
Well, Helen, everyone has so much information now. You know, there's information on the properties, the communities, the local schools. For me personally, I'm moving more towards video, making sure that our property videos depict the Fort Lauderdale lifestyle. So if there's a golf course close by, we want you to see that. If there's beach proximity, we want you to see that. We want you to see the neighboring homes. And obviously, technology brings a lot of demographic information that customers consider before they're making their choice. So in addition to video, we really maximize the photograph galleries on our homes, and floor plans, the 3D elements have all made it so much easier to preview the homes.
Yeah. I tell my clients the first place that someone will see your home is going to be online. That's the
Absolutely,
first place.
absolutely. I don't believe that people buy magazines anymore. I think we get them,
Yeah,
we flick through them, and then we typically discard them.
I
So it's
agree.
huge focus on very high quality photography and video.
And Julie, this question was not on the list, so I asked this of everybody that comes onto the podcast. Do you have a favorite real estate story you'd like to share?
My favorite real estate story, I think was relocating the CEO of a software company who reached out to me, and we looked at 45 homes in Boca, Delray, and Fort Lauderdale. And that's a lot to do in 3 days. But
That
they were
is.
just fabulous people. And at the end of one day, I left them sitting by the pool at one of my listings, had to run an errand and come back. And when I came back, they were sitting, they had their feet in the pool. They fabulous people who actually called me off a video on one of my listings. And they said, we're not going to make this too easy for you. We've got to look at Boca and Del Rey. They then relocated their kids, their parents, and some of their employees. So it was incredibly rewarding
Oh,
to watch them integrate into Fort Lauderdale and see them so happy.
that's terrific. That's a good story. Well,
Yeah.
Julie, I want to thank you so much for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you for
And
the opportunity.
anyone, you're so welcome. And anyone that is looking to have information regarding Fort Lauderdale, wanting to relocate, Julie Jones is the person to contact. She's my contact for sure. She should definitely be yours.
Thank you,
And
Alan.
I want to thank everybody for listening to the Real Estate Review with Alan Canis of Ingle and Volker, Silicon Valley. Again, Alan Canis, that's me. So Julie, thank you again.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It was delightful.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Alan.